people have mysteriously vanished in America's wilderness. Join us as we dive into the deep end of the unexplainable and try to piece together what happened. You are listening to Locations Unknown.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Locations Unknown. I'm your co-host, Joey Rodham. With me, as always, is a man who could be the president, but wants to let others take a turn first, Mike Van de Bogart.
Oh, thank you, Joe, and thank you once again to all of our loyal listeners for tuning in tonight. Little change in the studio. This is Locations Unknown After Dark.
Yeah.
For those of you just listening, we have some new green lighting in the studio for nighttime episodes. So
Yes.
just a quick Patreon shout out. We only have one Patreon new member this month, so this episode, Kristina Cole. So thank you, Kristina. And for all of you listening, come on, step it up. Subscribe.
You're going to the Streisand effect. They're all going to leave now.
Yeah.
You can't tell people what to do. They do the opposite.
Right. So don't subscribe. If you want to call the show and leave a voicemail, you can call 208-391-6913. Anything is fair game. And just remember, we may play it on a future episode. So,
We will.
Yeah, we will. If you want to help the show out, there's many ways to do it. You can obviously subscribe at Patreon, YouTube memberships, Apple Premium subscriptions, or buy some swag from either our Facebook store or our website store. So this is another one of our fun cold case episodes where we're going to be covering some cases from some national forests this time. So,
And this episode is unofficially sponsored by Coca-Cola Zero Cherry Flavor. All the flavor, none of the sugar. Coke Zero.
all of the cancer-causing chemicals.
I know, it's so bad. It's not good.
It's okay. I'm drinking one too.
Yeah, we're both drinking one, but
so
we recommend it for taste, but not for health.
That's
what happens when it's an unofficial ad. We're gonna just be real.
Yeah. So with that,
I'll announce our new employee. We got an intern.
Yes, we have an intern.
We had a meeting with her today, so it hasn't officially started. Her name is Kim. I've already decided I'm going to call her our Kim turn. So we have a Kim turn who's going to be helping us out with some of the research, social media stuff. She's in filmmaking, learning about filmmaking, does social media. She's in college. She can do graphic design. So if you see our graphics step up, anything get better than it was before, most likely it's the Kim turn.
Yeah.
So, all right, everybody, let's gear up and get out to explore Locations Unknown. With over 52 million acres, the U.S. National Park System is home to some of the most breathtaking natural features on the planet. Tens of millions enjoy these parks every year. Join us this week for an installment of National Park Cold Cases as we explore Oregon National Forest. So we're going to Oregon, not Oregon. Oregon, like organs. Oregon. So what we're going to be talking about is some different areas. The first one is the Rogue River in Siskiyou National Forest near the coast, southwest of the other two forests we're going to be covering. It is about an 8-hour drive from the other two forests. The size is 1.7 million acres. So similar to Kobuk, which is number 9 on the list.
Yeah, Kobuk National Park in Alaska. Very big park.
That's a very big park. The next forest we're going to be covering is Fremont Winema National Forest. That's less than a 2-hour drive from the Wilmette National Forest. It is 2.2 million acres, which is similar to Yellowstone, which is number 8. And the last one is the Wilmette National Forest. It's 1.6 million acres, again, similar to Kobuk. Combined, all 3 of them are 5.6 million acres, would make it the 3rd largest national park and is larger than the state of New Jersey.
And they're all within an 8-hour drive of each other, so that's pretty crazy.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I like that. I just met a couple people that live up in Washington and Oregon, and they just talked about all the hiking they can do. They can go hiking all the time and get new trails constantly. And I was like, yeah okay, just rub it in.
Yeah, right.
So when were they established? The first 2 were established in 1906. The third was in 1933. Rogue River sees about 915,000 people per year. Winema is 428,000, and Wilmette is 1.7 million visitors per year. So habitation history of the area. Since we don't have much time to talk about all 3 forests and have covered Rogue River in previous episodes, we're going to primarily focus on the Fremont and Winema since they're located near Wilmette, but it is the larger of the 2. So human presence in Fremont region extends back thousands of years. Physical evidence of this comes from the Paisley Caves, location and discovery of 14,500-year-old human coprolite. What is that? Let's look up the coprolite. I'm going to pull up what that means. It's fossilized feces.
Oh.
So they found a 14,000-year-old human turd, and that is how we know that the people were there.
But it's funny, they have to name it something scientific.
Well, of course. Because they don't want to. You can't be a scientist and be taken seriously. If we're like, we found an old turd. That's for us to do.
This is you don't do grade school potty mouth humor here. Locations unknown.
Well, I might.
Corprolite. That's what it's called.
Coprolite.
Whatever.
We're gonna put it in the machine. It's funny because we have such a mix of people that think that us trying to pronounce words is hilarious, and then
they hate it.
The other people get mad, and I just have fun with all of it. Let's see what the Google machine says.
Coprolite.
I was pretty much correct. Maybe I might have put the right emphasis on the wrong syllable, but I was pretty much right. So Euro-American traders began entering the Klamath area at some point between 1825 and 1827, where they worked as trappers for the Hudson Bay Company. The Fremont National Forest was established in 1908, was named for Captain John C. Fremont, who was sent to explore the area in 1843. Native people were quickly moved out of their traditional territories through the late 1800s into the mid-1900s as a response to the Euro-American settlers in the region that were attracted to the rich forest resources and ranching possibilities. In 2002, it was administratively combined with the Fremont National Forest. The Winema National Forest separately is the 3rd largest national forest after the Nez Perce National Forest and the Okanogan-Wanatechee National Forest. That is contained entirely within one county.
So this next little section, because we've covered Oregon.
Yeah, nice correction.
Nice correction. Multiple times we've done national forest facts. We've done facts about the state. This, we could do probably 15 episodes with these facts. There's so many of them, and some of them are really funny.
Okay. Maybe it's a Patreon episode or something?
We could, yeah. We could do it, yeah.
All
but
right.
I think I picked ones that I think you would find funny, some of them.
Okay. Awesome. Actually, I have a great idea because we're going to be doing a surprise interview.
Yeah.
That should be our Patreon episode before we release it to the rest of the people.
Okay.
So we'll record that, and there's an interesting surprise for Patreon supporters. So if you want to see what it is or hear what it is, go to patreon.com and sign up or subscribe on Apple subscriptions or on YouTube subscriptions. All right. Interesting facts about nature. Since we've covered interesting facts about national forests in Oregon in previous episodes, enjoy these mind-blowing facts about nature. Dolphins can identify humans by checking our skeleton structure through sonar. Wow.
Yeah, I did not know that.
I want to know how they figured that out.
Yeah, right?
Like, is that just a really educated guess? It sounds correct. Dolphins are incredibly smart.
I actually Googled it to make sure it wasn't like a joke fact.
I
believe real.
I believe it's probably published. I wanted to understand like the methodology for determining that.
That I don't know.
And we don't have to go into that now,
Yeah.
but I am interested and will probably be up late tonight looking into those studies. Sometimes when they're out gathering nectar, bees will fall asleep in the flowers. That sounds awesome. In any given year, you're 10 times more likely to get bitten by a New Yorker than bitten by a shark. I feel like 10 times is too low. I feel like you're like 100 times more likely to be bitten by a New Yorker. In fact, I expect when I do go to New York that I'll probably be bitten. When I go in the ocean, I expect that I will not be bitten.
Yeah.
Iceland is the only country in the world without mosquitoes.
Some of these are
that.
funny now that I'm reading them. Like that's just a fact.
Yeah, but that's really neat. I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
Now I know that. I'm going to say that at a party. And they'll be like, no, it's not. I'll be like, I hope Mike was right.
Yeah.
A group of lemurs is called a conspiracy. Oh, next time you see a conspiracy theorist, call them a lemur.
A lemur.
And see if they know what you're talking about. Sloths can only go number 2 once a week, and it is gigantic, up to a third of their body weight. However, because it takes them so long to go number 2, over half of all natural sloth fatalities happen at this time. Oh my God. It takes them so long to go crap that they can die.
Yeah, they get killed by predators while they're doing it.
Okay, so I did go to grade school. I was thinking for some reason a long poop killed them.
No.
Like they just are vulnerable for so long.
That's when they're most vulnerable, and it takes them so long.
And they're so adorable.
Yeah.
They just had a sloth exhibit at the Milwaukee Public Museum.
Oh, really?
And we went, they had a real sloth.
Wow.
But you couldn't touch it.
Yeah.
When I was in the Amazon, I got to hold a sloth. We found one on a tree, and the guy just grabbed it and put it on me. I was like, I don't know if you're supposed to do that.
It's the fastest it's ever moved.
Yeah, it looked like it had a bowl cut, too. It looked like one of the Beatles. So it was really funny. When you're talking, I'll pull it up to show the people who see the video. All right. Because cougars eat other animals that have seeds in their stomach, some scientists have estimated that cougars are able to plant around 94,000 plants every year through their fecal matter.
Yeah.
Manatees control their buoyancy through cycles of farting. There's a lot of number 2 and poo facts in this episode.
Yeah.
Harvestman spiders, known as daddy longlegs, predate the dinosaurs.
I didn't know that.
I wonder how they know that too. That's another one. Like, how do they know that?
How you find fossils?
Like, were they like giant daddy longlegs? Like, because I just
imagine?
assume everything from like that,
They're like the size of a car.
yeah, like just everything's like the new Will Ferrell version of Land of the Lost.
Yeah.
Just everything's giant. Just cause that's just cause that's how it is. The Greenland shark has the longest life expectancy out of all vertebrates known to science, more than 272 years. That is interesting.
Yeah.
I was going to say something else, and I thought, don't lobsters not die?
Yeah.
Or they've never, like, I don't think they've ever seen a lobster die of natural causes.
Yeah, that was a fact. I didn't put it in here, but I did see that.
Okay.
I have no...
But they're like crustaceans, so that's not...
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so... I'm getting into territory I'm not sure of, so... Yeah. But I do know that one, that they've never witnessed that, or unless that's changed recently.
I have no clue. I saw that fact, but I didn't research it.
Yes. All right, so we'll do an in-depth description of the climate of the area. So the climate is significantly drier on the east side of the Cascades, resulting in the rain shadow effect. This difference in precipitation between the lower and higher elevations of forested areas spans 2 Köppen climate classifications. The majority of the Fremont is warm summer Mediterranean, whereas elevations of 7,000 feet and higher are designated as dry summer subarctic. So precipitation primarily in the form of winter rains and snowpack feeds watersheds that include perennial and annual creeks, fen marshes, small lakes, and the perennial rivers include the Chewaucan, the Sprague, and the Williamson and Sinken Generally, the landscape is relatively flat and rolling, although there are some high peaks that include Yamsey Mountain at 8,196 feet above sea level and 8,370 foot Gerhardt Mountain. Both are volcanic in origin, but formed during events separate from what formed the nearby Cascade Range. So the terrain, we covered a little bit of it, but the Winema National Forest is on the eastern slopes of the Cascade Range. It covers 1 million acres. Part of the forest borders Crater Lake National Park. We've done an episode there.
Yep.
The northeast section of the forest is characterized by ponderosa and lodgepole pines and deep pumice ash. The nutrient ground dates back to the eruption of Mount Mazama that occurred nearly 7,000 years ago to form Crater Lake.
For those new listeners, Joe was on the History Channel discussing the Crater Lake case with our friend of the show, Bill Shatner.
Yes. When I was on William Shatner's The Unexplained with William Shatner episode about Crater Lake.
If you think I'm lying or you don't believe me, just go to locationsunknown.org and it's right on our homepage.
Yes.
That's the only thing we've ever done.
Yeah.
That's worth putting on the homepage.
Yep, the producer of the show loves our show. So whoever doesn't love our show, well, you're wrong. Because was it Prometheus Studios? They do Ancient Aliens. They do The Unexplained with William Shatner. All those great shows with crazy people.
Yeah.
I'm now one of them technically.
Yes.
So the show is. All right. Now I lost my train of thought. Highest peak of the forest is Mount McLaughlin at 9,493 feet. So some of the dangers that are present in animal form, mule deer, Rocky Mountain elk, pronghorn antelope, black bears, mountain lions, and bobcats. Tips for safely hiking.
And I didn't include some of the other normal dangers.
I just assume the rest
elevation,
of them.
exposure. I mean, we cover that every episode.
All the same things.
Yes.
So these are just some tips for safely hiking in Oregon National Forests. Driving on forest roads. Forest roads are not plowed during the winter, and many are impassable and or closed. So do not try and traverse snowy roads. You will get stuck, especially if you're in small vehicles. High clearance vehicles are required on many of the roads, obviously for that reason, which means the bottom of your car is not closer to the road, it's farther away.
Yes.
Know and respect the limitations of your vehicle. If you need a tow, it could easily cost you over $600, assuming you have cell service to call one. Most people do not have the stuff in their car to survive very long either.
No.
So I'll unless it's in here, I'll add one. Keep water in your car and like a blanket. It's very easy to do, and it could save your life.
Yeah.
Plan to encounter rocks, boulders, road washouts, drowned trees, and brush. Drive slowly. You do not want to blow a tire back there, especially if you don't know how to change one. Or if you do know how to change one, those jacks that come with cars, if you're on a muddy road, will do nothing.
Yeah.
You need a trail jack. And if you don't know what that is, don't drive on those roads. Food, gas, and lodging are seldom available. Carry proper tools and supplies when traveling in National Forest. Have a winter car kit packed in your vehicle. There you go. The water would be in that kit for sure. You want to bring the 10 essentials for day hikes and backpacking trips. This includes a map of the area, a compass, a flashlight with extra batteries, sunglasses, extra food, extra clothing, a pocket knife, first aid kit, matches in a waterproof container, and a candle or fire starter. At a minimum, have those things.
Yeah.
Another important thing, know the area. Learn as much as you can about the area you plan to visit. Carry a map because it can't run out of batteries. And the National Geographic puts out these great waterproof maps that you can use like expo markers, and you can draw on them and wipe them off.
Got one for every hike we've done.
Absolutely. They're like wax coated or something. They're very durable. Those are awesome.
Yep.
Contact the nearest ranger district office for current conditions. If climbing or backcountry skiing, check current avalanche condition reports. And check the weather conditions before you leave and be observant of changing weather in general. Some other safety tips. Pick a safe campsite. Check for overhead hazards like dead or leaning trees, also known as widowmakers, and hanging limbs. Use existing fire rings. Build your campfire away from trees, log stumps, overhanging branches, dense, dry grasses, forest litter. Never leave a campfire unattended. Even for a moment, be certain your fire is completely out and cold to touch when you leave. You may be held liable for uncontrolled fires you start. And obviously check the fire danger level in your area before. Don't just assume you can have a fire in the location you're in. Yeah, if Smokey says it's okay, go for it. A lot of times
I mean, I know they've gotten a lot of rain recently out west, but up until the last couple months, they've been in an extreme drought, and you pretty much couldn't have a fire.
Well, and the thing is, too, if you've had extreme drought, even if you've experienced like a rainfall that day, it still might be really, really dry. Yeah. So even if it's a fresh rainfall, if it's been dry for a long time, it still could spark a big fire.
Yeah, and I think people go to jail if they determine you started a forest fire.
At a minimum. And some of those fines are insane, like tens of thousands of dollars.
Yes.
You want to treat all surface water before using for cooking or drinking unless you're going to be boiling it. Otherwise, you want to boil it rapidly for at least a minute to kill bacteria, or use a filter or the tablets designed to treat microscopic Giardia. And
Windows agrees.
Windows wants to update. I'm going to shut off the computer sound. I'm going to snooze that so it doesn't update in the middle of the call. Anyway, outside of that, you don't want Giardia. That will ruin your trip or potentially leave you dead if you're too far away and dehydrated.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, let's get into character profiles and talk about these cases.
Okay, so the first case we are going to cover is a gentleman by the name of Robert Bobo. He went missing in the...
Hey, Bobo. I had to.
Sorry for all of those listening. He went missing in the Rogue River Siskiyou National Forest. He went missing on October 3rd, 1998, and this was per the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. There's other media reports out there of him going missing on the 2nd, but I'm going with the official date that the Sheriff's Department posted. Remains were not found. He was a male. He was age 39. Again, this is per the Sheriff's Office. I found a lot of different articles that had his age ranging from 36 to 38, so there is some conflicting information out there on him. He was 5'7", 145 pounds. He had blonde hair, blue eyes. He was last seen in a flannel shirt and blue jeans. He had a scar on his lower lip. He also had a scar 3 inches below his navel, and he had a tattoo of the name Bob on his right bicep. So probably an interesting character, to say the least.
He had the name Bob on his bicep?
Yeah, and his name was Robert.
That's awesome. He put his own name on his bicep.
Yeah.
He flexed it. It was like, you want to check out Bob?
Yeah. So
he sounds awesome.
All right, we're gonna start the timeline on October 2nd of 1998, and this of the 3 cases, this one had some of the least information available. But I lost my spot. There we go. Robert was camping in a remote, heavily wooded area in the National Forest between Prospect and Union Creek. The area was west of Crater Lake National Park. At the time, hunters in the area saw a female dropping him off at the campsite in the Woodruff Meadows area near 700 Road on October 2nd around 9 p.m. He, occupation-wise, he was a part-time woodcutter, and he had been living alone at Woodruff Meadow for a few weeks. So, October 3rd, 1998, one of Bob's friends arrived at his camp at Woodruff Meadows to pick him up for the opening of hunting season and found no sign of him. Even though he had no vehicle of his own, he quickly contacted the National Forest Rangers to report Bob missing. What really worried friends in the case of Bob was that he left everything behind, including his favorite black cat cap, 2 rifles, and all of his clothes, and all of his camping gear. And all his friends said he knew the area too well to get lost, and they basically said he was broke. So he didn't have enough money to leave. So it was very strange that he wasn't in this location. So, like I said, they notified the National Forest Service, and a search kicked off. Numerous searches were conducted in the area around Bob's campsite, but no evidence was uncovered. Authorities stated that there were no indications of foul play, but they do not believe Bob left of his own accord. So, no foul play, but they kind of are hinting that maybe something went on. So, and it very strange. He was one of 3 people to go missing in this area that year. So, there was something going on. Either just 3 people were unlucky in that area, or maybe there was something else going on as far as
this goes into that one conspiracy where remember you thought there's a potential the Park Service is covering up serial killers.
Oh, yeah.
What episode was that?
Well, that was a while ago.
Not that all of them were doing it, but you thought some of them were like a little like it was off the deep end theory that you had. I don't think you actually believe that, or I don't. Do you?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Okay.
I think people just go missing because they're not prepared. Yeah. Or they just have bad luck.
Yeah.
So the Jackson County Sheriff's deputies investigated the case, and they said, it's just suspicious. We don't know what happened, said Detective Dan Hobbs, who suggested Bob could have left the campsite and suffered an injury or medical emergency. Bob's brother, Dennis, traveled to the Prospect area to search for skeletal remains at least once a month, looking for clothing, pieces of fabric, or bones, but managed to find nothing, saying, we've played a million scenarios through our heads. We're reasonably sure he's not going to show up. And according to Dennis, the fact that he left behind his favorite baseball hat is proof that he thinks somebody killed his brother. So Dennis said, when he woke up in the morning, before he even went to the bathroom, he put his hat on. He was self-conscious about his receding hairline, and he never went anywhere without his cap. So interesting little comment from his brother. Dennis also said his brother was too familiar with the territory to get lost. Moreover, he doubts his brother would have wandered very far if he had suffered some kind of major medical problem. And even if he wanted to leave, he was too broke to do it. So they go on to say, on the night he was last seen alive, Bob got dinner and drinks from friends in Prospect before bumming a ride to the campsite. To be that broke and then be dropped off 14 miles outside of Prospect at a campsite would be consistent with someone planning to go deer hunting in the morning, not leaving town. Given the circumstances, Dennis said he was 99% sure that his brother was a victim of foul play and was unhappy with the Jackson County Sheriff's Department. He went on to say, there's no evidence of foul play as they consider it, but put two and two together. Where is he if there's no foul play? And this is a constant theme in a lot of our cases that, law enforcement tries their hardest to find these people. And when they come to the conclusion that they probably just got lost and died of exposure, the family usually doesn't, families don't want to hear that. They want to, they don't want to think that their loved one may have, fallen or gotten injured. They want, it's foul play. It's got to be foul play.
Well, there's also the other side where they might all believe, even the detectives, that it's foul play. Yeah. But if there's nothing to go on,
evidence, yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
You just have to walk around the same area over and over again until you find something? Well, they do that when they search.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to play devil's advocate and just say, if there's nothing to go on.
Yeah. They can't just randomly say, oh, it's foul play.
Yeah, because, as soon as they say,
so they got to write
it's for sure foul play, which it might look like it, but you need, beyond a reasonable doubt, it is. Then they're going to have to open up some sort of investigation in criminal activity, and they have nothing.
Yeah.
It would probably be, as sad as it is to say, it's probably a huge waste of resources.
Yeah.
Now, if it's a small department, maybe they have time and maybe they should spend it. I don't know.
And what I was getting at is just a lot of times the families are not happy with the investigation that happens in these cases. And
sure.
I get
they lost a loved one and they want answers and there are none. I might be the exact same way.
Yeah.
If it's a loved one and I'm not getting any answers.
Yeah, you want them to do everything they possibly can to find, but like I said, there were two other guys that went missing in this area. They only have so many resources, especially out west. We know how many people go missing, and most of them are found, but it all takes resources to find them, to do the search, and they all have limited resources. So Sheriff's Detective Dan Hobbs said, good question. At this point, we have nothing to indicate foul play. Needless to say, it is suspicious in nature that he would up and disappear like that. Basically, we've done all we can. I sympathize with the family not knowing, but we're just grasping at straws here. So basically saying the sheriff's deputy said what you just said. And Hobbs says he checked out a number of leads, but none panned out. Bob ran with a sketchy crowd, and rumors about his disappearance have flourished in Prospect. So who knows? This case was back in 98, and nothing's been found since. And it's such a remote area that, probably nothing will be found. But
yeah,
That is kind of the end of our first case. Real quickly, before I jump into case number 2, what's your theory, Joe? Quick theory on that one.
I feel like it's foul play.
Yeah,
I do.
I do kind of a little.
I that's my hunch. I don't have a good reason other than, what you laid out, but that was my initial instinct, so I'm going to go with it.
Yeah.
I don't even have an off the deep end. Aliens. There you go.
My theory, I guess, would kind of lean towards foul play, even though, like we said, there was no evidence, based on the fact that people said he kind of ran with a sketchy crowd.
If he's broke and runs with a sketchy crowd, this is making assumptions.
Is he desperate for money? Does
he owe money and someone knows where he's going to be? Is he meeting somebody out there to try and do some sort of deal?
Yeah.
These are all Hollywood.
Yeah.
Maybe this is off the deep end. It's like I think of the scene in Breaking Bad where they're meeting by the train.
Oh yeah.
Like something like that. Like is it? He's getting dropped off there.
Yeah.
They said you would only do that if you're hunting, but did they mention that he had gear to go hunting?
Yeah. He left it all in his campsite.
Exactly. So maybe that was like a ploy, like, I'm going hunting, but really I'm going to be meeting people out here to do some I don't know.
Yeah. I know. I think this one is probably foul play, but we have no evidence to say that. Who knows?
Yep.
Our next case is by the person's name is Derrick Engebretson, and he went. You want to look up his last name, see how it's pronounced?
Engebretson. Engebretson. Let's here we go. Let's see what Google says. Google's not good with names.
Oh, turned up.
Yep. Let's see here.
Engebretson.
Engebretson.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think
it says it's Norwegian.
We're just going to call him
Engebretson.
Engebretson. We'll just call him Derrick.
Engebretson.
So he went missing in the Winema National Forest. You looking that up?
What?
The Winema?
No, I wasn't.
Oh.
I will now.
No, you don't have to.
No, it's too late. You challenged me to do it. Here we go.
Okay.
Winema National Forest.
There you go. Yeah, we've been saying it correct.
Date of birth, July 5th, 1990. He went missing December 5th, 1998. Remains have not been found. He was a male, age 8. He was 4'6", 85 pounds. He had brown hair, hazel-colored eyes. He was last seen in a blue snowmobile suit, a size 12 or 14 denim jacket, navy blue Route 66 pants, a black sweatshirt, and Oakland A's t-shirt, a hat, felt-lined camouflage print boots, and gloves with the Goosebumps logo on them. He was
Goosebumps like the books?
Yeah. I'm assuming.
He had gloves? Goosebumps?
Well, this was
gloves?
the 90s.
Yeah, but I didn't even know they made gloves.
Oh, apparently they did.
I need to find those. I'm gonna buy
this. Advanced age, you're gonna wear Goosebump gloves.
100%.
All right.
I'm gonna look these up. You keep going.
Okay, so he was known as Bear Boy within his family because his love of the outdoors. It was reported that when he was a week old, his mother put him in a pack and carried him along on a bear hunt. So that's pretty cool. He did have dog bite scars on his chin, between his nostrils, and under his nose. So experience in this location, obviously he's only 8, so you have to discount that a little bit, but he grew up hunting with his father and mushroom picking with his mother's father. He had been to Pelican Butte, which is the area he went missing, on several of those mushroom expeditions. So, he's been out here before, so it's not a completely new area for him. This timeline starts on December 5th of 1998 in the afternoon. Derrick, his dad Robert, and 64-year-old grandfather Bob set out for a densely wooded mountainside above Upper Klamath Lake near Pelican Butte, about 30 miles from downtown Klamath Falls. Their plan was to find a Christmas tree for the holiday season. The family hadn't planned to go out to the woods that year to Christmas tree hunt, but Lori, Robert's wife, had talked him into using an artificial tree, despite the fact that he was an enthusiastic outdoorsman who always looked forward to the family's annual Christmas tree hunt. And the wife of the dad just didn't want the mess, and I always get forced into getting a live Christmas tree, and I'd rather just use a fake one. It's just easier.
I like the live one. So you're in bad company. It makes the house smell so good.
Just get a candle that smells like Christmas trees. Problem solved.
You're such a negative Nancy. You are. You're like, bah humbug. Just get a candle. That's
now that I have a kid, I'll go get real trees.
Yeah, there you go.
It's cool for them.
You're gonna have 2 kids.
Yes. So they ended up out in the woods to find a Christmas tree because their disabled neighbor asked for a real tree. So Robert decided to head into the forest. As Bob's red Toyota pickup truck climbed the West Side Road, Robert remembers telling his father they couldn't hang around as it was already after 2 p.m. and it'd be getting dark around 4 p.m. since it was late in the year. Bob pulled into a turnout at milepost 12 on the way to Rocky Point Resort. Robert helped Derrick get into his blue snowsuit, and the 3 of them started up the embankment into the pine forest. Robert walked ahead of the other 2, telling Derrick to stay with his grandfather. As Derrick chopped at small trees with his hatchet, he nagged his grandfather that he wanted to catch up with his dad. The grandfather eventually relented, and they headed off, apparently after his father. So it's now 3 p.m. on December 5th, and with nightfall closing in, Robert and Bob met up and asked each other, "Where's Derrick?" Robert remembers asking, "I thought he was with you," Bob said. And then he goes, "He was with you." Robert turned and sprinted back up the hill as heavy, wet snow started to fall. He shouted out for Derrick, but there was no response. At 4:13 p.m., Robert flagged down a man driving along the road, Fred Hines, asked him to dial 911 to call for help for the authorities. Hines makes the call from a resort 2 miles from the area where Derrick disappeared. So they call the authorities. Not too long after, I think it might have been 5 hours, the search kicks off. So in the hours immediately after Derrick's disappearance, Robert and the other members of the family found Derrick's tracks in the newly fallen snow. So this is something a little different in the cases we've covered. We usually don't have tracks found this quickly or ever. I don't remember many cases that we've covered where they've found tracks.
Yeah.
There was one of that guy that got stuck in his pickup truck.
Mm-hmm.
And like the
tracks,
tracks,
was stuck in the culvert.
Yeah, and they like went down the road and then just disappeared.
Yeah.
Which is really strange.
And this kid was only 8.
Yeah.
That's
so the boys' small boot prints made a short loop. What's up?
I'm just listening. I hear beep. Keep going.
Oh, sorry. We'll cut that out.
No, we won't.
No, we never
keep going.
So the boys' small boot prints made a short loop from the spot where Robert had last seen him to a clearing near the road where Derrick had laid down to make a snow angel. Unfortunately, a snowplow had come by, obliterating the tracks that led away from the angel. No tracks led from the angel back towards the woods. The cuts Derrick had cut in the trees with his hatchet were confined to a small area near the road. Robert felt certain his son hadn't walked back into the trees. By early evening, the snow was estimated to be about 5 to 8 inches on Rocky Point. Throughout the night and for the next 2 weeks, hundreds of people searched through the snow that was several feet thick, looking for Derrick on foot and using snowmobiles and dogs. Did you figure it out?
Oh, yeah.
What was it?
The alarm for our new office auto sets.
Oh.
So don't break any windows or anything.
Okay. So just to recap, sorry, for those of you listening, we had our security alarm go off.
Yeah,
Joe
I
had to
thought it
step
was
away.
going off, but it was setting off. I was like, oh, great, we're going to have like the police raid in the middle of our show. That'd be great for ratings.
So basically, to recap, they traced his footsteps back, prints back to a road, but a snowplow had gone by recently and covered up any like further tracks.
So they didn't know which way he was going down the road?
Well, yeah, they don't know if where he went once he hit the road. So, And snow is coming down they said 5 to 8 inches of snow is coming down at this time.
Oh my God.
So like I was just saying that through the next 2 weeks, hundreds of people searched through the snow looking for Derrick on snowmobiles and dogs. Lori, his mom, built a bonfire at the turnout, sleeping in a donated camper van, hoping Derrick would see it and come to her. Delirious from lack of sleep, she once thought she saw Derrick walk out of the woods towards her, waving and smiling, but it turned out to just be kind of like she was like half awake, half asleep.
Yeah.
Kind of dreamt it up. A candy wrapper and a makeshift lean-to shelter made out of branches were discovered, but it was unclear whether they were related to Derrick's disappearance. Family members were convinced that Derrick had made his way to the road and might have been picked up by a stranger, but the sheriff discounted those concerns. There was also a hole in the ice that was discovered in a lake by Bob during the search, and a child's footprint was on the bank. Divers actually searched the next day, and an additional search was done in the area during the spring thaw, but nothing was found. So the official.
And it was a lake, not a river?
It was a lake.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it
with a
wasn't
hole
like
in the
heavy
ice.
flow or anything like that? Okay.
Nope. So the official search ended 8 days after Derrick disappeared, when Klamath County authorities told Lori and Robert that their son was likely to be dead. Robert, Lori, and at least 100 volunteers stayed on the mountain for another 7 days. Speculation deepened that Derrick had been abducted. On December 18th, 1998, sub-zero temperatures forced the family to end the search, but every weekend for the next 2 years, Robert drove straight from his shift at work to the mountains, meeting Lori. They kept a map marking areas where they had searched. So
that poor family.
This story gets a little interesting now. So what happened to Derrick? There was plenty of criticism of the search and rescue effort, as many believe the authorities had been slow to get to the scene the night Derrick disappeared. The search was not started for nearly 5 hours, which that's pretty good in a lot of cases we cover. Sometimes people aren't even reported missing.
Yeah, like till the next day.
Yeah, or sometimes weeks.
Yeah.
So 5 hours is pretty good, but
I think when it's your 8-year-old kid, instantaneously is not fast enough.
But hear the reason why the search didn't start. So it wasn't started for nearly 5 hours after the first 911 call by the passing motorist, because the coordinator was reluctant to interrupt the Christmas dinner for the Klamath County Search and Rescue Team annual awards dinner at Molly's restaurant until he was sure a rescue was actually warranted. So, I mean, I kind of get it, but also there's a child that's missing.
Yeah. Their job is to not assume that something's okay. It's to assume everything's wrong.
I mean, they're the search and rescue team.
Yeah.
Like
you assume all the time. I was a paramedic. Even when I used to get calls,
yeah,
we had frequent flyers. People who I knew would call and didn't have problems, and we still responded every time as fast as we could.
Yeah.
And that's just what you do. It's your job.
So I think you postpone your award dinner, and you get out there and look for him. But
it stinks because it sounds like it was that one person.
It was the coordinator.
Because I'm guessing the people in that room would have.
They would probably were like, "Yep, let's get out.
All
there.
right, time to go.
We're the search and rescue team."
Yes, yeah. This is literally our job, and it's happening right now.
Yeah. So Robert and Bob both actually passed polygraphs, but some in the community were convinced that they may have murdered Derrick or had been negligent in some way. Robert couldn't speak to his father. He blamed himself for not finding Derrick, but he blamed Bob for losing him. Bob was also too racked with guilt to even talk about it. Robert had taken a lot of time off work. At the same time, the couple had spent thousands of dollars searching for Derrick, paying for psychics, and a boat to search Klamath Lake. Eventually, they actually ended up going bankrupt because of this.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, it just gets worse. Authorities insisted that Derrick had wandered off into the woods and died, that animals had scattered his remains. But the family never really believed that, especially as no evidence had been found, such as bones or torn clothing. This was supported by a witness who said he'd seen a man struggling with a boy along a nearby highway. Then, in 1999, some graffiti scrawled on a rest area bathroom wall near Burns, which said Derrick had been killed and buried, but the FBI insisted it was a hoax. A boy named Derrick, who was found in Texas under unusual circumstances, looked a lot like the Derrick from this case. but proved to be someone else. And then finally, a bone was discovered in Pelican Butte in 2000, and it turned out to be from a deer after a wait of several days to confirm its identity. But the case isn't over yet. So in late 2001, a handwritten letter arrived in the family mailbox. Now, I'm going to put a warning. We don't usually do this, but it's kind of a graphic description of a criminal act that this guy did. So if you're...
So you're going to read this verbatim?
Yeah, I'm going to read this verbatim, and if you're listening on like speakers in an office or like in your family room, maybe
small children, be warned.
Maybe put headphones on, or maybe just skip forward if you don't want to hear it. So this is the letter that arrived. It said, "I know who took your son. On July 11th, 2000, Frank J. Milliken, a 31-year-old state youth authority worker, approached a 10-year-old boy in Dallas Park and offered the boy $100 to mow his lawn. When the boy reached Milligan's car, the man said to him, 'Do you want to live or die?' Milligan bound the boy's hands with duct tape and then stopped the car just north of Salem and forced the boy to walk down a dirt road and sexually assaulted him. Milligan choked the boy and pushed his face into the dirt so hard he blacked out. He cut the child's throat and left him for dead. But against the odds, the boy woke up covered with blood and got to a road where a passing motorist stopped to help. At the time of the attack, Milligan was out on bail from Clatsop County Jail, accused of a 1997 sexual attack on an 11-year-old boy in Seaside. Detectives tracked him down, and he eventually pleaded guilty in both cases. Months later, now we're kind of... It's not the letter. Now they're talking about months later what this guy...
So that letter randomly showed up?
Well, it wasn't so random.
Okay.
So months later, Milligan's cellmate, they found out, wrote a letter to the police and the family saying that Milligan had confessed to abducting and killing Derrick. And this was the letter that arrived at the family's house. So this was his cellmate who claimed this guy... I don't know how he would have gotten to Oregon to do this, but so Oregon State Police detective who had investigated the Dallas case and others confronted Milligan. Milligan confessed to killing Derrick and agreed to lead detectives to the body. Lori and Robert drove 5 hours to Silver Falls State Park southeast of Salem and waited as the FBI used ground-penetrating radar to scan for Derrick's bones. After several days of searching, they came up with nothing. So,
like he just wanted to get out of jail, or
well, so here you go. So, the Marion County Assistant District Attorney told the family that Milligan had agreed to plead guilty to the killing of Derrick if they agreed to spare him the death penalty. But when Milligan faced the paperwork a few days later, he refused to sign. So,
he was just trying to get out of the death penalty.
Yeah, maybe.
And just drag this family through further pain and agony as a result.
Can you look up Dallas Park? When I first read this, I thought this was in Texas. Obviously, this isn't Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. People listening from Oregon are probably spitting out their coffee. Dallas Park, come on.
Yeah. All those people from Oregon are mad. Now they're even more mad. All right, Dallas Park. All the first stuff that comes up is Texas. But if I type Dallas Park City in Southwest Park in Dallas, Oregon. That's Dallas City Park.
Look up the jail, the Clatsop County Jail.
Clatsop. Well, I'll just go to Clatsop County.
Oh, so it's north.
Yeah, it's north. Just how far north? Pretty far. It's right on the border of Washington State.
Okay. So this makes a little more sense. If this guy was out on bail in Oregon, I don't know why I thought this was Texas.
Because Dallas
Park.
Yep, you heard Dallas and
I heard Dallas and just assumed. So,
well, you know what happens when you assume, Mike.
Yep. So, this one had a lot of weird, twists and turns towards the end, but it sounds like this guy just wanted to get out of the death penalty, which I didn't know Oregon had. They must have had it back then.
Yeah. I looked it up too.
Okay. So, theories on this one, since you're looking that up, I'd say if the road hadn't been plowed and the track stopped, I would say abduction was a very likely possibility. But again, it's a remote area. What are the odds in a heavy, kind of a snowstorm out of, the few people that are probably going to be coming down that road, it's going to be someone who's going to abduct a child? That seems...
I feel like the odds are low.
Odds of that happening are low, but I guess it could happen.
Yeah, it's possible. I think with the odds, though, it's highly unlikely.
I think in this case, because Derrick had clothing on that could probably keep him alive in these conditions for longer than, someone in like a flannel shirt and jeans.
Yeah.
That maybe what he did was he crossed the road, or maybe he got to the road and started walking down it for a ways and then walked back into the woods. Or, maybe he was like, I'm going to walk towards like one of the towns he thought was in one direction, or I don't know why he would walk away from where his dad was. That doesn't make sense. I mean, I guess it's getting dark out and he's lost. He's an 8-year-old kid.
He's an 8-year-old. He's wandering around just discovering things.
I think it's probably more than likely exposure. I
would say that's the most likely.
I think because he had the gear on, the snow, he had the snowmobile suit, and he would probably have been able to stay warm. So he probably was able to wander around longer than...
Yeah, if you're moving around and wearing all that stuff, you're going to be pretty warm.
And if it's a heavy, wet snow... It's not like minus 20.
Well, and he's not going to be going far either.
Yeah.
Which makes it a little more confusing is how much ground can you cover?
I think the fact that the plow came through and disturbed any tracks that might have been on the road.
Yeah.
Probably.
It's like the perfect storm for search and rescue of not being able to find.
I think you can't rule out abduction, but.
No, I agree. I think you can't rule it out. I just think the odds of that happening are super low.
Yeah. So another sad case and really terrible note about the Frank Milligan guy and what he, I really hope he's in jail for the rest of his life, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Another story, and nothing's been found of Derrick in all these years after this case. So moving on to our final case, this one again doesn't have a ton of information on it, but the gentleman's name is Ronald Allen Ohm. He went missing in the Mount Jefferson Wilderness in the Willamette National Forest. He went missing on August 9th of 2012. He was a male, aged 52. We don't know really anything about his physical description other than he suffered from a medical condition that required daily medications, and he had a 4-day supply of tablets with him. So, Joe, you're a little more up to speed on medical stuff.
On drugs? Yeah.
Can you think of any common condition that would require medical, tablets that you'd have to take every day?
Heart. I would say
issue?
It's blood pressure, something with the heart. That's
but something would be
like aspirin or something
serious. Like if you stop taking it, it would incapacitate
it could be.
You.
It could not incapacitate you, but if you have high blood pressure and you're relying on high blood pressure medication, if you run out and you're exerting yourself, you could maybe have a heart attack.
Maybe you already had a heart attack and he has to take this to... Who
knows?
We don't know. We're speculating.
Well, think about, look at it this way. If you have like a hose that's for low pressure and you put high pressure into it, what happens?
Yeah.
Well, that's what happens in your body with your blood. If you have high blood pressure, it can cause an aneurysm. Lots of bad things can happen, especially if you're stressed.
So, we're just speculating.
That's a speculation. We don't know he has that condition, but my guess if he's taking tablets every day. Diabetes would be more of like an injection potentially. Yeah. So especially with heart disease being like the number one thing that we have as an ailment, my guess is some sort of heart condition or blood pressure related.
Well, who knows? I was just curious. So, experience in the wilderness. Ron was an experienced hiker, familiar with the area, and was equipped with blue and red backpack, tent, sleeping bag, and provisions to last for several days. So he
He had enough gear.
Yeah, he obviously locations unknown wasn't around then yet, but he was living our creed to always be prepared.
Yeah.
So this case starts off on August 9th of 2012. Ronald was near Russell Lake in the Mount Jefferson Wilderness area hiking with two friends. The group had departed from Brighton Bush Lake Campground Trailhead and planned to spend the weekend at Russell Lake, which is southwest of Portland. On a ridge above the lake, he told them he would stay a while to take pictures while they set up camp down below. His friends headed down, leaving Ron behind. Ron never showed up at camp that Thursday night on August 9th of 2012. The friends looked for him, then hiked out Friday evening and reported him missing. Since his disappearance, no remains have been found and his equipment has not turned up despite a very large search effort over multiple years. So the search, in addition to Marion County Sheriff's officials, searchers from Lynn, Benton, Dutchess, Lane, Polk counties, as well as Portland Mountain Rescue took part in the 6-day search. Search crews looked for Ohm on foot, on horse, SUV, and on ATVs, focusing in on the area between Russell, Scout, and Bays Lake. Helicopters from the Oregon National Guard and Cessna 182 aircraft from the Civil Air Patrol flew numerous hours scouring the search area but were unable to spot any sign of Ron. They also spoke with many hikers during the search, and flyers were posted at trailheads and along the Pacific Crest Trail. Over 200 searchers dedicated approximately 3,500 hours to search 300 square miles of the National Forest north of Mount Jefferson. Efforts, unfortunately, were hampered by smoke and the approaching Waterfall 2 forest fire, which was moving west from Warm Springs. The area around Russell Lake is heavily forested and has many ridges and valleys with some snow cover. Daytime temperatures occasionally reach 90 degrees, and the elevation of the search varied from 5,000 to 7,500 feet above sea level. So now in 2013, a new search actually kicked off. So in August of 2013, a year after Ron's disappearance, MCSO search and rescue volunteers from Team 18, along with personnel in jeeps and horseback, returned to the area to search again in the hope of finding his remains. A total of 54 people were involved in the search, camping 2 nights in the wilderness to maximize the time available to search. The search was focused along the Pacific Crest Trail between Brighton Bush and the Whitewater trailheads. But this second search, involving a total of 1,135 man-hours, failed to find any evidence of Ron. So that's where this third case ends.
That is like literally no information.
I know.
Like he was prepared and he's gone.
Yeah. Are you able to look up? He was Russell Lake. He was on he was on a ridge above the lake, and there should be a campground near the lake. I'm just curious what this potentially looks like.
Let me share my screen too. So yeah, that's directly north of Jefferson, and look at it's.
So the ridge was probably not. He probably wasn't way up there. Go like.
Well, it said just above the lake, right?
Yeah, scroll down, back, zoom into the lake.
Oh, you're thinking
On
it's
the
like
north side.
right on the north side of the lake.
Yeah, like I'm thinking he was. Is there any elevation there?
That's I mean, not really. I'll look up some Google images too.
So
I guess it might be up there.
Yeah, this one is. I mean, there's so little information on this one. It's hard to make a theory on what potentially could have happened to him because we don't know really anything about him, personally. I mean, it could be suicide, but if it was suicide, he would have jumped from that ridge area, and they probably searched that area. That would be one theory that would be easily able to prove. They know where he was. That was the last time his friends saw him.
Yeah, I can't even find like pictures of a ridge over the lake.
Yeah.
Like just randomly
Maybe
searching.
it is higher up in the mountain. I mean,
It's got to be. I mean, that's that ridge
That's
line
a
right
ridge.
there. Yeah, that is a ridge, all right?
That's a ridge.
That's pretty far away from the lake. It's north of the lake. If that was just, I guess, the only...
I mean, this looks very remote and rugged.
Yes, definitely
So-
is that.
He was prepared for several days out there. We know that based on the gear he had. I'm trying to see if
I mean, I'd say the biggest thing... I mean, what if he was doing a day hike and had an accident, so he's nowhere near his camp? Where, like, he'd leave his gear there, bring
well,
a
the
few
thing
things,
was,
or...
they were all together up on the ridge. He was going to stay there to take some pictures, then head down to camp and meet him. So
Well, yeah, so like maybe he went somewhere else.
he'd like, I'm going to go up that hill to get the really good shot.
Yes, like
Maybe-
saw something, went
maybe
to go
got lost.
for it. Yeah, got lost, fell in, I don't know, a hole. Like,
Or he was lost long enough that he ran out of his medication and he had a medical emergency
yeah,
possibility. Yeah, I think
it's got to be something like that. Like he went to go. If he's smart enough to bring all that stuff, he's not going to make a dumb decision. So that's where I would look at. I mean, people always can make a dumb decision.
Yeah.
But I think more often than not, people that know what they're doing can have an accident where it's maybe out of their control.
Yeah.
And if you get injured enough and can't move, incapacitated,
Yeah.
and they just don't find you, maybe you're underneath something. I don't know. That's like the only thing I could think of.
Yeah. I think in this one, I could not find really any information on this case. This was very limited information, but it's just another interesting story of someone being in a location at 1 second and then they were just gone. And a pretty massive search, and 2 separate searches. So, 3,500 man hours in the first search, and they had helicopters in the air, they had Cessnas in the air, they had a lot of manpower out there looking for him. So that just shows you how remote and rugged this, part of the forest is. So I think I'm on your train with this one. I think he probably, people who like take, photography when they're out in nature, they see something or have an idea like, I want to get this shot.
Yeah, get in a different position, get in a weird space, and then
Yep. And
something
then something happens.
You're not paying attention,
or you got
where
lost.
Yeah, or just bad luck.
So, well, those were the 3 cases that we were going to cover tonight. So, any final thoughts from you?
No, just thanks again for tuning into our show. We appreciate all of you for listening and sharing locations unknown with your friends and family. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, where you can find all the videos for each episode. Also, if you'd like to support the show monetarily, please visit our website or Facebook store to buy some cool swag. And you can also subscribe to our Patron account on YouTube and on Apple subscriptions. We have access to our special events and additional shows for paid customers only. That will include our interview we're doing with individual we're going to start collaborating with.
Yes.
And if that intrigues you, sign up and see what the dealio is.
They're pretty famous on a platform we're not really on yet.
Yep, it's gonna be it's gonna be interesting, and we think it's gonna be really cool. And you might know more soon. You'll know faster if you're a patron or subscriber. So, lastly, when enjoying the beauty of nature, whether backpacking, camping, or simply taking a walk, always remember to leave no trace. Thanks, and we will see you all next time.